Now, I won't lie, I'm having one of my worst game weeks of the season so far in game week 16. I'm on 38 points so far, and I'm down to 400k overall. And here are my transfer plans for game week 17. All right, I'm going to start off quickly by going through how my team has gotten on so far. 10 players have played. I've still got Semenyo versus West Ham to go on Monday night. I'm recording this Monday morning before I start work. So, yeah, we don't know how that game's gone yet. He could well save my game week, but I must say I'm not all that optimistic about it. I'll start with the defence. Sanchez in goal, whose clean sheet was intact until Brian and Mbumo crushed my dreams. I actually sold Brian and Mbumo to Semenyo a couple of weeks back. He had one shot in 5 games before I sold him. In the last 2 games, he's gotten 2 double-digit hauls. So it's just the way FPL works sometimes, right? And obviously, he wiped out my Sanchez clean sheet, so he came away with 3 points. Timber, happy with the clean sheet for him against Everton. I don't have any Arsenal attackers, so to be honest, I'm actually quite pleased to see that Everton kept a clean sheet, because I think if Saka did really well this week, that would have really killed my rank. Ain't Nori, I mean, really disappointed in him. In fact, I've sold him already, and we'll talk about who I bought for him in a second. But yeah, -2 for him. A red card for some altercation in the tunnel, I believe. He's gone. He's out of my team, just like Gary O'Neill, unfortunately, has been sacked by Wolves. Aina, I don't know. I'm not sure if I expected a clean sheet against Aston Villa, but my whole reason for starting him was wanting to spread my risk in the defenders that I own, because I didn't massively back Chelsea to keep a clean sheet against Brentford, just with how good Brentford have been from a goal scoring perspective this season. I wanted to spread the risk. I didn't want to have both Sanchez and Colwill starting for me. And I just feel with Nottingham Forest, particularly at home, they have the ability to keep a clean sheet against anyone. And to be fair, they nearly did against Aston Villa. Speaking of Aston Villa, a blank from Morgan Rogers, although to be fair, I think he had a reasonable shout for a penalty in that game, which could have led to him maybe getting an assist. Cole Palmer, a blank for him, which I'm actually quite pleased about because I captained Salah. I went for Salah because I just think Salah has been more consistent and reliable with his returns this season. Palmer on his day has the potential to just go absolutely crazy, but he also has a blank in him. And Salah obviously came away with an assist compared to Palmer blanking, so the one thing I guess I did get correct was the captaincy. Although ultimately, I mean, there's 6 points in it if I were to captain Palmer. So yeah, there's not a whole lot in it, but for me, I'll take the good decisions when they come, I guess. Semenyo still to play West Ham. I must say I'm a little bit disappointed with that transfer, and I don't know if I regret it because yeah, it enabled me to get Isak in, who has just been sensational since he's been in my team. I don't think I regret it, but I'm really disappointed with him so far. So I'm hoping he gets something against West Ham. Another blank for Erling Haaland. I don't know what I'm still doing with this guy in my team, to be honest. The reason I have him in my team is because I think he's a genuine captaincy shout for upcoming game weeks. But based on how Man City have been performing recently and the level of chances he's been getting, is he actually a captaincy shout? I'm not really sure, and I'm really starting to lose faith in him, to be honest. Isak with a goal and assist. He's probably the best forward in the game right now, and I think should be considered a premium option, to be honest. The level that he's playing at, you know, with Callum Wilson being injured, he's pretty much nailed on to start every game for Newcastle, and he's on penalties for them. I think he's just absolutely brilliant. And João Pedro, another blank for him. I sold Raul Jimenez for João Pedro, and Raul Jimenez over that time has outscored him. And also Chris Wood, who was previously in my team, has been scoring, and João Pedro, the player I brought in, has not. It's been an absolute disaster in terms of transfers I've made recently. But I think my lesson learned from the transfers I've made recently is all about patience. And I think with João Pedro, I think I just need to be patient. So here is how my team is shaping up for game week 17. And you can probably tell the early transfer I've made already. I did Aït-Nouri for Robinson. I was terrified of Aït-Nouri going down in price by a load because I think getting a red card is justification for many people to transfer him out. And Robinson was due to go up in price with Aït-Nouri to Robinson being a popular transfer. And he doesn't have a midweek fixture, does Robinson? So I thought in the case where there's early transfers, that was probably an acceptable scenario to make it. And Robinson, I think he's one of the best left-backs in the Premier League. Fulham have been performing really, really well, and they've got a decent fixture run, albeit Chelsea away in 18 is tough. But with other players I have on my bench, I think I can swap and change them around. So yeah, I'm happy to bring him in. Another player in defence I wanted to talk about is Rob Sanchez. Now, I think I'm happy to have him for game week 17 against Everton. But we've seen Maresca kind of has a weekend and a midweek team. And that's proven in the Premier League so far this season. So whilst I think he starts the Everton game, I'd be a little bit worried about him starting the Fulham game. So with that in mind, I'll certainly keep him for game week 17, I think, in Sanchez. But Onana, I think, I always say this in all my videos, I need to bring him in at some point because I think he's going to be the top scoring goalkeeper come the end of the season. I think Man United are going to keep a decent amount of clean sheets and Onana's going to make quite a few saves, I think. You can see there, 2.56 saves per 90 for him. But I think with Sanchez playing Everton, who are one of the worst attacks in the league, it's hard to justify getting rid of him this week because I think he plays. But come the Christmas midweek games where he's got Fulham, I think there's potential justification there to take him out because I'm not 100% sure that he plays. That's just a little theory I've got going around in my head at the moment. Very happy to have Timber against Crystal Palace away. I know they just beat Brighton and they're pretty good on the counter-attack, but I do question whether Crystal Palace can actually score against Arsenal. You know, despite all the flaws they have, well, the, I guess, abuse they're getting from their own fans from an attacking perspective at the moment, Arsenal, they are pretty good defensively still. So I'm happy to keep Timber. I've got a bit of a decision to make, basically, as to whether I start Colwill or Aina. Aina's got Brentford away. Obviously, Brentford's goal-scoring form at the G-Tech is just incredible. So, yeah, for that reason, at the moment, I've got Aina on my bench, but likewise, Colwill could easily go on my bench. And it's just, that's hard to decide at the moment. I'm going to just give it time and let things play out and see how we go. But right now, I think I'm going to start Colwill and have double Chelsea defence against Everton, because I think if there's ever an attack to target, it's probably Everton. So Ahmad has been absolutely killing it recently. He's got 9 attacking returns from 14 Premier League appearances so far this season. I'd say those fixtures coming up, bar the Liverpool one for Man United, are pretty decent. And to be honest, with Ahmad at his price, bring him in, you could bench him for that game. 5.2 million, really, really cheap. 9.2% ownership is actually classed as a differential at the moment. I think he's a really good option. And I think with what we saw with Amorim leaving out Rashford and Garnacho from the squad against Man City, suggests he's probably quite high up in the pecking order in terms of likelihood to start. And I look at my midfield here at the moment in my team. I've got Semenyo and Rodgers, who obviously qualify in and around the same sort of price point as Ahmad. Both have been somewhat underperforming in my team recently. Semenyo, I've only just bought him in and I want to ship him out already, but we'll see how things get on against West Ham. That might change. But I look at Rodgers at the moment and the way that Villa are playing, he just, I don't know, just doesn't seem to be getting involved as much as he was at the start of the season. So I could potentially look to replace him. He's got Man City at home and Newcastle away in his next 2, although that Man City fixture is obviously not as tough as it might have been in previous seasons. Yeah, I'm just questioning whether it's worth getting rid of Rodgers for Ahmad. That's something I'm considering. I don't think it... Ultimately, the lesson I've learned in recent game weeks in FPL is that remaining patient with players that you're on the verge of selling is probably what you should do and not knee-jerk it and get rid of them. I've learned that from Chris Wood and Raul Jimenez so far this season. You know, I got rid of Chris Wood, who's just been in insane goal-scoring form, regardless of what the fixtures are. And I took out Raul Jimenez for João Pedro, and Raul Jimenez has outscored him. So I've learned my lesson in terms of those kind of luxury transfers, I think, even though I've been saying it in my recent videos. So I think ultimately with Rodgers, I should probably keep hold of him. And Semenyo, you know, with Man United away, Crystal Palace at home, and Fulham away coming up, you know, I think those are decent fixtures where he has a chance of scoring in each of them. Even though I've just said that Onana is the best goalkeeper in the game, I don't think anyone with any level of logic could suggest that Man United are definitely keeping a clean sheet against Bournemouth. You know, I don't think that's the case. So you know, I think I should probably hold on to these 2 cheaper midfielders for the time being. One thing you can see there on expected points, though, is that Palmer and Salah are on completely equal. And it's a real, well, you can see the captaincies on Salah at the moment, and I think I'll follow the same logic that I did for game week 16 in terms of captaincy, in that I just think Salah is more consistent with his returns this season. And I compare the 2 players on their fixtures as well. Everton away for Palmer and Tottenham away for Salah. I don't think it's too controversial a thing to say to suggest that Everton are actually better defensively than Tottenham are. With that in mind, I think I've got to go for Salah as my captain. So that's the decision I've got. Obviously, there's no intention or any reason to sell either of these players. Haaland, he's one that has really disappointed me. I think, to be honest, my really poor FPL rank, or yeah, my red arrows in recent game weeks have entirely been down to keeping the faith in Erling Haaland. And I think my faith has not been rewarded so far, but the fixtures for Man City really turn in coming game weeks. They got Villa away, who I actually don't think are that solid defensively. Then they've got Everton, and then they've got Leicester. And I'd actually make an argument that in upcoming game weeks, he could potentially be an outstanding captaincy choice. However, with the way that Man City are playing right now, I don't think it's fair to say that at all. I'm obviously going to keep Isak. And like I said, I think my patience in João Pedro, I need to stay patient with him. I spoke about captaincy just then, and what I've got is a ranking of players for expected points over the next 5 game weeks. Now, this screenshot was taken just after I did the team screenshot, so the expected points updated slightly after I made the team graphic, so they've changed around a little bit. But as you can see, game week 17, it's joint between Salah and Palmer. And ultimately, I think that is a close call. But I'd give it to Salah because he's got the better fixture in my mind. I think Tottenham are worse defensively than Everton are. I think that's a fair assessment. Game week 18, Salah certainly looks to be the outstanding captaincy option. He's got, Leicester at home compared to Palmer and Salah who have, Palmer and Haaland who have slightly worse fixtures, I suggest. Game week 19, Haaland's got Leicester away. Palmer's got Ipswich away. And Salah's got West Ham away. I think there's a potential argument that Haaland is a good captaincy shout there. In game week 20, Salah's got Man United at home. Yes, I do think Liverpool can score in that game, but I do also think Man United could put up a fairly stiff resistance there. It might make it a bit challenging for him to score. I guess we'll see. Palmer's got Crystal Palace away, and Haaland's got West Ham at home. Now, I would suggest that West Ham at home is probably a better fixture than Man United at home. So, game week 20, I could potentially be giving the armband to Haaland, and also in game week 19 that we discussed there. And then game week 21, it does at the moment look like, yeah, probably Palmer with Bournemouth at home. Or to be fair, Haaland with Brentford away, even though, you know, the expected points favour Palmer, I think Brentford away is probably a better fixture for Haaland. So in game week 19, 20 and 21, there is potential justification where you could captain Haaland based on the quality of the fixtures. I didn't even mention Saka, but he's a potential captaincy shout in 18 as well. But I just think Salah with Leicester at home is by far and away the outstanding fixture there. So just a little bit of talk around captaincy there. You probably think I'm just crazy for considering Haaland as a captaincy option there at the moment. But yeah, I do think there's potential there. And ultimately, that's probably the reason I'm going to keep him. And I just look back at my team and yes, I've got some cheap midfielders in there who I could upgrade, but with 2 free transfers right now, I don't think there's a whole lot of damage I could do by selling Haaland, and I may as well just keep the faith. And finally, just a quick look at my shortlist. I go through this in every team selection transfer plans video. Added a couple of players in there, and to be fair, there were so many defenders on my shortlist previously, I can't really count Hausen and Milinkovic as new additions because they've always been on my radar. I've been recommending them in my videos. I've just had so many defenders on the shortlist I couldn't fit them all in, but they're new this week. Like I said, I think I think Onana's going to be the top scoring goalkeeper come the end of the season, but Pickford's going to be right up there as well. I've obviously added Ahmad as a midfielder there. I think he's been great in recent games. I think he's going to be first choice in that Man United front line. There's going to be attacking returns for him. The fixtures are pretty decent for Man United. There's no way I can't consider him an option right now. And then I've added Chris Wood to the forwards as well. I'm not going to go through each of the options on my shortlist, but, you know, essentially I would only really look to buy players from this shortlist if I was considering transfers. And yeah, this is what it's looking like at the moment. Alright, and that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed that and found it useful. As usual, it feels like this one's been a little bit rambly, but that's the case with all of these transfer plans videos, really. It's me putting my thoughts down, well, I was going to say on paper, but on camera as opposed to on paper about my team. So if you enjoyed it and found it useful, please leave me a like rating. Let me know in the comments what you think I should do with my team. And if you enjoyed the video and haven't already, I'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe to the Golden Goal channel, which should be just there on your screen. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.